we still did the thing where, we just didn't want to make it dumb.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. George, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it. I know this is a whirlwind always, and I mean, it's the first time for me talking to you, but this is by far for you the first rodeo. What's your mindset, going through these cycles at this stage in your career? Do you consider yourself a bit of a nostalgic person and you like to look back at what's already been done, or in your mind, are you like, well, I've done this album, I'm already thinking about what's next?
Well, there's a certain aspect of it that's becoming or has become somewhat routine, and I don't think that's a bad thing. It's kind of a comfortable place to be, because earlier on in my life, when I was, had my fledgling bands and started, recording and learning how to write better and play better and all these things, it was just a wilderness, and it was sort of, you didn't know how to negotiate the terrain, right, because it's unfamiliar. And in a lot of cases, especially back in the 70s, we were sort of creating the terrain because there weren't any roads, there weren't any rules. Right. So now it's become more of a comfortable thing where I know what to expect and how to negotiate the challenges and how to get things done mechanically. But having said that, there's also the thing I also crave, which is the uncertainty and the mystery and the challenges. So I would say I have two baskets of projects. One is the more comfortable approach, which is a more music that I'm known for. And then once in a while I get into something that's a little bit more out of my wheelhouse, and always fun too. And they're both great.
Now, when you say there's two buckets that I work on, some of the stuff that people more expect from me, also what has been a little bit more comfortable, the Sweden Lynch album would fall into that, not only where, people have a certain expectation, it's also a third album in this project, but it's also a band powered by Frontiers Records, and, they are very much known for pairing up people together with that can complement each other in an interesting way for a specific audience. Many of those projects that get created, they live and die with one record. We very rarely get to see that music performed live. We're now at the third record already. When this whole project with Michael started, the reaction that came to these records, and then the fans really liking it, was that a bit of a surprise to you? Is it a very different feeling or anticipation when it's more your specific creative brainchild? Like, what's the difference for you?
Well, I don't know. I've never even thought about that. I mean, for me, it's a creative project is a creative project.
Okay.
Whether, if the idea originated in my own head, or collectively with a band, or from an outside force, being the label in this instance. So it doesn't really have any bearing on how I approach it or how I feel about it. You could argue that if it's something that was your brainchild and you're invested in, of course you're going to care for it a little more.
Right.
I don't find that to be the case. I often get asked to do outside projects of a private nature. So, what you would say in the publishing world, vanity press. Well, that exists with recording as well. So you'll get guys that are, that they have the flexibility because of where they are at in their lives, where they want to make a record and they want their hero George Lynch to play on it, so they compensate me to do that, and I do a bit of that.
Yeah.
And it would be easy to discount that and say, oh well, it's not valid, or it's just it's a money grab or something. But really, these it's all the same to me. I mean, I when I play for real,
right?
Because I just love what I do, and I'm playing from the heart, and there's just no other way I can play.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
What venue I'm playing at, whether it's a million, 100,000 people, or playing on some guy's record that's a fan of mine, that it's all coming from the same place. So I don't really make any distinction at all. I've created a world for myself, a guitar world for myself, where I get to do anything that I can imagine or conceive of, because I'm writing the music. Or if I'm contributing to somebody's record, I get to take artistic license with that because they allow me to. Nobody's telling me what to play. So, some people will be surprised. So like a guy will say, guy will have a band and he'll be a fan, and he'll contact me or something, and my manager will let me know, and then I'll set it up. I'll talk to him. I'll listen to the music. I go, oh, that's pretty cool. I could see doing something over that. And we work the business out, and we work the schedule out, and then I hire my engineer, and I go into the studio, and then I'll listen to it, and I'll go, you know what? Then it's like if it's my song, and I go, okay, what can I do? So which is super fun because I don't have the responsibility of getting the record deal, of putting the band together, of booking the studio, getting engineers, and I just get to go in and have fun, which is the best part of it, right? Not the business. Actually, I love doing that stuff. And then I listen to this track, which and then I start getting ideas. So I might just take, and I've done this frequently actually, is I'll they're hiring me to do guitar solo, let's say, but I'll go, you know what, I'm gonna go through this whole song and I'm gonna add stuff everywhere. And it isn't just gonna be soloing, it's gonna be like some ear candy stuff maybe in the background, with some kind of weird effect, that just with a reverse thing on it, or a sustainiac, or who knows what, I'm just making just off the top of my head, but who knows what it is. And I'll have fun with it, and I'll play with it, and then I'll go, oh, the main riff, let me heavy that up. So I'll plug in my old 1975 Neutron Octavider with a baritone and just make the riff like a monster,
Yeah.
Simple, but it's very effective and cool. Then I give it to him, and I'll say, okay, well, you use what you want. I mean, it's your song. Yeah. But I gave him a lot of options, and I feel good about that. It's like, in a sense, it's my job. And I'm coming in to perform a service, and I'm like, if I were a plumber, it's like saying like, okay, well, not only did it come up and unplug your toilet, but also clean up your whole bathroom.
When we look at this new Sweet and Lynch album, it's an album that definitely packs a couple of punches, starting with Hard Sacrifice. It opens the album really with like a fun anthem. There was this fun behind the scenes video of the second album where you described the second album as like, well, trying to get a bit of a metal or rock opera vibe going, and it packs more meat and potatoes, I think was the exact thing you said, than the first one. More looking at the evolution of the first to the second to where we are today, like how do you look at this album now? Because I know that you also talked about chasing that perfect rock record, and that there's very few of them out there. So if you had to analyze this new album, more meat and potatoes, it definitely feels more punches.
Yeah, a little less esoteric, but a little more meat and potatoes, as you said. But also, we still did the thing where, we just didn't want to make it dumb. You want it to be digestible,
right?
But and have those simple, effective grooves and riffs that are drawn from classic rock, and it's very familiar, and it's all this and that, very satisfying. But at the same time, you want to be a little bit left of center and challenging in some way to yourself and to the listener. So I think we struck a very, very good balance. I think it's a better chemistry than the second record, and because the second record, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I think I was just reaching for strange stuff, and as you said, opera thing or the concept record thing.
Yeah.
Very into Queen at the moment. Well, I'm always into Queen, but at that time I was really like trying to actually reproduce Brian May's stuff,
Right.
There's certain equipment. I had like his rig, replicated his rig with the AC30 and the Rangemaster treble booster and all that stuff. So I was trying to do that. I was really heavy into that at the moment. So that you could see that in some of the songs. I was trying to be operatic and things like that. So, I mean, it was interesting and cool, but it must not have been that interesting and cool because I can't honestly remember any of the songs. So.
Bands like this, like these projects, especially like I said earlier, like the Frontiers records, roster, if you will, where they bring some, well-established people together. We barely get to see or hear those songs performed live. Kind of similar with Sweet and Lynch. Should we keep our fingers crossed to seeing some of these songs getting a life on the stage as well?
Not really. Yeah, unfortunately. I want to give you a better answer, a more hopeful answer, but it's just so hard to do. It really is. There's a reason he does it. I mean, unless you're a baby band and you're young guys and you're willing to get in the band and go out there and play for free and stay at your friend's, sleep on your friend's couch or whatever, fan's couch. I just don't see any way to pull it off. We're all older cats. We're kind of a little more comfortable in where we're at, in our careers. Yeah. And I work harder than anybody, and I'm willing to do probably more ridiculous shit than anybody for my age. I'm almost 69, but at some point, you just can't do it all, and I feel ashamed about it. I feel bad. I feel like I owe it to the fans, to go out and perform for some of these projects, especially the ones that have done better, this one, like Sweet and Lynch and KXM especially. There is demand for that. And the End Machine actually would work, and we have done some touring with the End Machine, and I have done some touring with Project Infidelica. Very little, but we did it, so kind of popped that cherry a little bit. But there's very fundamental practical and financial and logistical reasons why it's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So without getting into the weeds,
for sure,
it's like a business person looking at a business proposition and they're just saying, well, this doesn't make any sense. They talk to their accountants, they talk to their managers and the unions or whatever. And it's like, let's just it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And let's do it for the wrong reason or the right reason, meaning, you want to go out and play to, a club for very little money with a few people in it to make a statement, then if you can afford to do that, sure, go ahead.
Just playing is probably your favorite thing in the world still. But you do so much beyond that. We see you being very active with obviously Mr. Scary Guitars and all the custom stuff that you build. You're also a guitar teacher, and you play on so many things. If we forget about the actually playing and recording albums that you're on, is there one of those elements that for you that comes more natural, that you get more satisfaction of, like teaching somebody else to play guitar or building a custom guitar? Do you get a similar or a very different satisfaction or fulfillment from that?
Yeah, the guitar building the guitar crafting thing is definitely very, very similar, which is why it works for me, because um, when I'm doing my carving and painting, or whatever you call it, um, it's a lot like creating a song in the studio when I'm in the very, very similar. Yeah, and that it's a creative process, and it's very rewarding, and in some ways more rewarding than the music, because the music business is a very difficult labyrinth to understand, negotiate, and get your head wrapped around. In other words, you do a record, it's very hard to understand how you get paid for that. You know, game is just, the whole music world is just so difficult to understand. I have so many friends that are my contemporaries that I work with all the time, and none of them understand it completely. Understand it. Designed that way intentionally to keep you, to obfuscate, you know, where things go. So you know, we all have horror stories, but I've spent a lifetime trying to understand how it works. So my point being that when I build a guitar, somebody, I put it out there, somebody sees it, they contact me, and they pay me for it immediately. Yeah. It's like full blue collar work, which is what I was raised on, and I love that, because, you know, it's so immediate and I understand it. I'm not a good business guy, so it's like I don't have to tear my hair out trying to figure out and all this bullshit. So it's very just black and white and honest, you know. So I really love that.
And you go, like, if we just focus on the creative aspect of that, we've seen some crazy designs and custom builds that you've done. Building custom guitars also impacts sound, and adding stuff to that will have a direct impact. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. Is there something that you've tried to do that you have on your wish list to pull off, but that you haven't been able to do without negatively impacting the sound of an instrument? Like, is there something that you've really tried but couldn't get it to work so just yet?
No, actually, I haven't tried to do anything beyond my capabilities, and I'm sort of in a comfort zone with what I do with the guitars. So I kind of taught myself, and I've also took a year luthier class, but for the most part, I've been self-taught and have learned by trial and error what works. And also, the guitars that I make are very kind of rustic desert vibe. So they're very forgiving as far as the design features. So if I, you know, a lot of my work I do with just, you know, it's just hand tools, like a hand Dremel tool and a hand router. That's what and a sander, or orbital sander. That's like the three tools I use more than anything. So all that's very forgiving with wood when you're doing a rustic design, because, you know, I'll draw it out with a template or by hand or whatever, and I do my carving, and, you know, they're all different because it's all hand done. And then if I get somewhere where I make a mistake, like what happens sometimes is my bit starts to get dull and burns out, and it'll start, you know, grabbing pieces of wood I don't intend to cut, and then I'll have a little accident, and that's happened, you know, more than a few times. And what I do is I just sort of incorporate the mistake into the design.
Right.
You know? And at first I'm bummed. I'm like, crap, you know, shoot, I hope I didn't mess this up to where it's, you know, not salvageable. And then I just start, you know, I'll do different things to sand it out and just make a feature. So forgiving, and it's also kind of this thing when I start doing it, I don't know, a lot of times with new designs where I'll just have a blank slate, you know, I'll just have a body that I've glued together, and I've pin routed it, and it's all kind of there. I go, okay, what am I gonna do with this? So like recently I did this thing and I called it the Tree of Life, and I just took routers and Dremels, and I just basically just did this kind of, you know, tree, carved it into the body, and just kept extending it, and, you know, putting little birds and other little features in there. And then the whole thing, I was like, wow. And by the time I was done with it, I became so immersed in it. I'd done this super intricate pattern that was this matrix labyrinth of just,
Yeah.
you know, it was very, very cool. And I was like, and you look at it and you go, wow, you can't believe you did it. It was just like, and it was just happened, you know. It was sort of lost sense of space and time, and went in and came out, and you've created something. And it's just such a great feeling. And then you become attached to the instruments. That's the other
Right.
thing.
Is it then hard to sell that?
Well, when they, you know, I would say, and I'm going to be very honest about this. I mean, once in a while you'll get an instrument that there's no rhyme or reason. You just can't figure out, and it just doesn't have the magic. But 95% of the time, I've got it down to where they're all inspiring. And I sit there and I got to keep this. And I have done that twice, I think, with customers, where I'm just like, you know, I don't know how to say this, but I just cannot, I can't give this up. So I'll either refund you your money or I'll make you another one, but I'm going to take this on the road. And every never had an issue or anything. And that probably is very unprofessional to do. But, you know, I think one time what happened was I took it out with me on the road and I played it. And the guy showed up at the show and I handed him the guitar off the stage.
Nice.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool thing. You know, and he appreciated that because he got to come up, you know, sound check and play it, everything. And so it made it more, you know, more of a cool experience for him. So,
100%. George, I could ask you a million questions, but I want to be very respectful of your time. I know you're a busy guy, and we'll see all the footage that comes our way from all the shows you'll be playing, including the cruise that you're about to head on to. I want to thank you so much for your time to answer some of these questions, and I wish you and obviously everybody involved in the Sweden Lynch project, but also you more broadly with everything that you're working on, the best possible results. And I hope you make many more guitars that are very hard for you to sell, because it sounds like that is a pretty awesome feeling. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Words, and it was I really enjoyed it. And next time we'll talk less about me and more about you. How about that?
I don't think anybody will care watching these videos, but I appreciate the offer.
Stories, we're all the same. It doesn't matter. I feel bad. I said about myself. I tell my wife that I go, it's kind of narcissistic to go on there, egotistical. All I do is talk about myself. And then she goes, well, that's kind of the point, because it is an interview.
That is true. That is true. That is true. You know, at the end of the day, these things always end up on social media, and social media is a place where narcissists and voyeurists come together and are all happy. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your breakfast and your time preparing for all your shows.
Thank you.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.